Hey there, Aaron here. So Nintendo had their big Switch press conference earlier today. I did get up at stupid o'clock to watch it. Was it worth it? I'm not quite sure. I'll come back into that. But they did provide a lot of information, maybe a bit too much about the Switch itself. It is coming out on the 3rd of March. So, what, 6 weeks now? That is a lot closer than I was expecting. I did think it might be the 17th of March, which was rumoured. And if Mario was actually coming to launch, I thought releasing it on March the 10th, Mario, would have made sense. But no, wasn't to be. So yeah, the price of the unit, I'm slightly disappointed. It's a lot more than I was expecting. $300 in America. In the UK, £280. Now, originally, rumours were that it was going to be £200 just for the Switch itself, or you could buy the bundle pack, extra memory and Splatoon for £250. To me, that sounds really good, but £280 excluding a game, that's, you know, well over £300. There are rumours it still might come with a pack in game, and I think that might be 1-2 Switch, which it'll come into conversation later. So yeah, that at first was slightly disappointing. It does have an online service which you have to pay for. Nintendo have never had the best network infrastructure. I think we can all say that. None of their consoles, you know, have had it as good as, you know, their competitors. This could change, of course, if we're going to be paying for it. A few things. Apparently, well, besides the obvious that you're going to need to pay to play online, they will also be giving some freebies away. Rumours are you'll get a NES game or a SNES game a month. Doesn't really seem the best deal. In my opinion, they should have done something a bit like Netflix, and if you're paying a subscription fee, why not just play whatever games you want as long as you're paying that subscription fee? There is no region lock-in, so that's a good start. The older consoles, especially the handhelds really, the DS, the Game Boy, they were all region free. With the 3DS, they stopped doing that. There was a lot of issues, you know. People were going abroad buying games. It wouldn't work. I'm glad they've made the Switch region free. I think we can all agree on that. And yeah, they did go into a bit too much detail about the playstyles of the Switch itself. I think it was a bit unneeded, especially since it was an hour long. They really needed that time to get in as many games as possible to show the system off. Battery life, not great. 2.5 hours to 6.5 hours. I guess we're expecting this considering how powerful, well, for a handheld device the machine is. That 2.5 hours though really is going to be much simpler games. If you're going to be playing, say, Zelda on this, I really can't see it lasting more than the 2.5 hours they've quoted. It does use USB Type-C, thankfully, so it should charge pretty quick. Again, some rumours are confirmed. Wi-Fi, touchscreen. Yeah, we all saw that coming. And local players, so that's one way of not having to pay this online service subscription fee. So yeah, the Joy-Con controller is very small. You can detach it, we all know that. And it does have NFC on one of the controllers. The square button can actually record pictures and footage eventually. So if you do stream, perhaps it will allow you to stream to Twitch or YouTube if you're that way inclined. And there were some light extras so you can make the buttons bigger, which, considering they do look quite small, I think that really does help. And there is actually a different colour combination. There's a red, Neo and blue version. I have pre-ordered the Switch, I'm going to say that now. I've just gone with the standard version, and yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. But it did get onto the games eventually. This is where the problem is. Nintendo have said previously they would not release the Nintendo Switch until they were sure they had a good launch lineup and that there was a Mario title at launch. Everyone was expecting Mario to be there at launch. Unfortunately, Mario's not here to the end of 2017. That's not great. There's a few games at launch, mostly third party. third-party ports at that, really. Zelda Breath of the Wild is at launch, which is fantastic, but there's a bit of a dampener in that it also comes out on the Wii U at the same time. So, do you really need the Switch to play Zelda if you've already got a Wii U? This is what I'm thinking. When I pre-ordered the Switch, there wasn't really any other games until Mario that really have interested me. So, I'm still on the fence post whether to play it on the Wii U or play it on the Switch. I really want to see that comparison to see how much of a difference there is between both versions. So yeah, Nintendo did show some other games. There was one called 1-2 Switch that started off quite bizarrely. I do wonder if this will be packaged with a Switch. I really hope it does, because it didn't really show what it was on the press conference. It was a bit confusing. So I'm hoping they're not going to be charging for that. And fingers crossed we get to see some more information about that game, maybe in Nintendo's tree houses. There was also a game called ARMS that looked really good, but I thought it might be an eShop game, like a lower price game, but looking up the price, it does appear to be a full price title. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen enough of it to judge, so we'll just have to see how that turns out. It looks different, like Nintendo have tried with Splatoon, making different IPs, and maybe ARMS is that type of thing. Splatoon also was a bit of a surprise. Originally it was rumoured that an enhanced version of Splatoon was going to be ported to the Switch and maybe included in the, well, as I said earlier, the £250 pack. This wasn't the case, so Nintendo obviously see that Splatoon could be improved a lot more, so we're getting Splatoon 2. It looks good. I'm not the biggest fan of Splatoon. I've only ever played the demo when Nintendo run the test fires. Not really been inclined to actually buy the game, but I must admit it looks good, and I'm sure it'll do as well as Splatoon did on the Wii U. That game is coming out in summer 2017 though, so it is still a while off. So besides Zelda, a few other third-party ports, you're going to have a bit of a wait, unfortunately. And moving on, next they did show the new Super Mario game, which is called Super Mario Odyssey. I had actually heard of this title this week, so either someone guessed correctly what it was going to be called, or it did get leaked slightly. Now, when I saw Super Mario Odyssey during the press conference, they did show a city scene to start with. I must admit my heart sunk a bit. It looked really bizarre. Kind of like Sonic Adventure. I'm sure a lot of people will see the comparison there. I just felt it looked really odd. Mario is supposed to be a human, so seeing him in a city, a realistic city with other humans that didn't look like him, I didn't go much on it. But on the same page, when the video did actually show all the other areas, it did look pretty good. It looked classic Mario. So I can't see Nintendo going wrong at all there. Graphically, it did look good. I don't think it looks perfect. The Switch obviously isn't the most powerful of hardware, but for a Mario game it should cope fine. So I'm looking forward to that. There's many worlds in it. Apparently it's a big sandbox Mario game, so it could be going back to like what Mario 64 was. I'm not completely convinced it's going to be in that play style. I do think it's going to take elements from Galaxy, from 3D World and Mario 64 and bring them all into one big game. So oh, and the cap has the eyes. That seems to be the big selling point of this. And you can throw the cap and jump across, you know, gaps with it. But again, this game isn't coming out to Christmas 2017. So if you've got a Wii U and you're happy playing Zelda on it, you might want to hold off buying a Switch for, what, several months until Christmas when Mario comes out. Molyneux Soft released a little video which appears to be Xenoblade 2. Not really been the biggest fan of Xeno games, so it looked good. It did look nice. I'm sure it will please a lot of people that are into their RPGs. For me personally, not so much. Fire Emblem Warriors was announced. Not much shown at all. I was really hoping that Nintendo would just go all out, just show us Ubisoft's Rabbids versus Mario game, show us Retro's game. Obviously it's not going to be a Metroid game, but I would really have liked to have seen that. Dragon Quest X is coming to Japan, and 11, Dragon's Quest Heroes. There was an Atlas game as well. Atlas has made quite a few nice games in the past, especially for the DS. And their trailer, again, I was just confused. I didn't know what that was all about. We're going to have to wait and see what more comes out. There was another game, Square Enix, Project Octopath Traveler. Again, not much gameplay shown, but Square Enix is usually pretty good at their stuff. I would have liked to have seen maybe a proper Final Fantasy game, though, not these little spin-offs that Square Enix have always done. You know, the Kingdom Hearts games, they've only ever released spin-offs for Nintendo handhelds. Why can't we get the big proper games like Final Fantasy 15? I'm sure it would run on the Switch. I would prefer to see brand new games rather than ports, but still. SEGA are also releasing some games on the system, obviously. Sonic Mania being one of them, Project Sonic. And we had a little video from Bethesda about Skyrim. Yeah, it was very short and sweet, but again, another port. I'm sure a lot of people that are really into their Skyrim will love a portable version though, so fair play. We did have a video from Suda51 Grasshopper. Could it be another No More Heroes game? We haven't seen one of them for a while. I was a fan of the original. I would like to see what they could do, especially with the G-Cons on the Switch. And surprisingly, EA were on stage showing off FIFA. Now, FIFA on the Switch just makes perfect sense to me. Especially if you're playing multiplayer, you can go round, see your friends. I think that would work really well. And I'm glad that they're doing that. Apparently NBA is coming to it. Again, going back a couple of months, Nintendo did show that in their trailer. So it was obviously coming. FIFA isn't coming out though to, again, later in the year. So a bit of a while. There are a few other games. Ubisoft's Steep is coming, which I'm kind of happy to see that. I played it on the PC. Don't think it was the best game in the world. A lot of people thought it was going to be a 1080. Sorry guys, if you didn't realise it was Steep, it was. There were a few other games. Yeah, Street Fighter. Capcom's releasing one of the oldest Street Fighters. Fast Racing Neo is coming over. I think it's actually been given a new name. I think it is a brand new game. Mario Kart was shown, just a quick glimpse. I really thought that Nintendo would probably show a bit more of Mario Kart. But again, rumours are there isn't much added to it. There's 4 characters, I believe. Maybe some Splatoon tracks, an improved battle mode. I'm really hoping that's online. We deserve it. But again, with tracks, are they going to add any more besides the DLC that was released on the Wii U? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But I played Mario Kart 8 to death. You know, I would prefer a brand new game. But there were a lot of people that obviously didn't play the Wii U version. So it makes sense to port some of these games back over. Smash Brothers, I'm surprised that was nowhere in sight. But it is rumoured to come out later this year. So we'll have to wait and see about that. It did end on Zelda, of course. It did look pretty great. One thing though, I'm not quite sure if it looked as good as it did going back to E3. Some of the graphical effects, I don't think they're up to scratch. It's rumoured to run at 900p or 720p on the handheld, which is alright. I think being the Switch, it could have pushed it to 1080p, and that kind of worries me that already a game ported from the Wii U can only hit 900p. It will look good, but we're going into maybe Xbox One territory, you know, when a lot of the games will be in 900p here. But yeah, it's too late really for them to enhance it anymore. I'd love to see what the Wii U version compares like, as I said earlier on. And again, that is coming out for launch on March the 3rd. Right, okay, so that was pretty much the press conference. My own opinion on the Switch. I'm a little disappointed. I was maybe expecting more than what Nintendo showed us. We needed to see a lot more games at launch, especially Nintendo titles, and I didn't feel confident that third parties were on board. We seem to be getting a lot of ports, again the same the Wii U did. Now, with the price of the Switch, I can see there being a bit of issues. The die-hard Nintendo fans, sure, they're going to go and buy it. They've already pre-ordered it, I'm sure. But after that period of 1 to 2 months, I think maybe it's not going to do as well as Nintendo hope. My concern is they're going to drop the price to what it originally should have been. And I purchased a 3DS at launch, and I paid well over the odds for that. And then 3-4 weeks later, they dropped the price, and I was pretty unhappy about that. Nintendo did give us Ambassador games for our 3DS, which I've still got, but it didn't quite make up the fact that it felt like the early adopters got screwed over a bit. I don't want this to happen with the Switch. I think Nintendo should release at £200 or $250. Get those people buying it. I've spoken to people that were interested in the Switch today, and they've seen the price and they thought, actually, I might hold off to Christmas. Probably get a decent packing game at that time. Again, with the Wii U, I didn't feel confident with the launch titles. I think I purchased it about 7 months after, when Mario 3D World was coming out, and it included the Mario Wii U games and the Luigi game. And I think for that price, it was well worth it. I'm going to keep my pre-order for sure, but nearer the time, I'm going to sort of see whether it's worth keeping that pre-order and whether to play Zelda on the Wii U for the time being and perhaps purchase a Switch in the future. I really hope Nintendo do well. They deserve it. They make some great games, but I think they're going to be up against a brick wall here. If they could drop the price just a bit before launch, I think a lot of people will be happy, but we still need to see more games. Nintendo have said we're going to have some more Nintendo Directs. They need to do that much more often. We used to get them quite often back in the day. Maybe once a month. We haven't had one for a long time now. Nintendo need to get back into that rhythm of, you know, leaking more and more games out to us, so that we will be interested in buying the system at launch, really. And so far, besides a lot of ports, Zelda's really the only one that I'm looking forward to. So anyway, I think I've rabbited on it a bit too much now. So what are you guys going to do? Are you already pre-ordered it, or are you going to wait and see how it all unfolds? Maybe leave a comment below. If you've enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up and subscribe even. Thanks for watching.